Hello everyone, welcome back to Manga Goblin, and I'm Trix of course, and today we're going to continue our Manga Archetype series. We're going to look at one that isn't very much covered by a lot of people, haven't noticed it. So let's talk about the Haraguro. What does Haraguro mean? Well, looking at the original word that it comes from the Japanese word Haragurai, which means black-hearted, mean or scheming. These characters tend to be the mastermind characters or the hidden boss type characters, the characters that will have one face and then have a hidden face. These tend to be antagonists, but not always, and they tend to be extremely intelligent. Now, a lot of people will put certain characters in this list which is rather not wrong exactly, but I think they don't quite grasp the idea of them. A perfect example of this character would be Sebastian Michaels from Black Butler. Black Butler was a series that featured several characters and there were several manipulative individuals. However, Sebastian Michaels takes precedence of all of them because of the way he acts around his master, Diesel. Bastian himself is a demon of extreme power and yet is bound to his master, obviously wanting to break free, wanting to claim the master's soul, yet he, on some occasions, when he is able to do this, he stops himself and continues to plot a long-term goal. Of course, this long-term goal is still ongoing, as I believe, and it's a type of thing or plot that sometimes goes on for too long. Sometimes a series can put these characters into a long scheme, which when it comes to fruition, it feels very lackluster, or it feels very unimpressive for their whole scheme of things. The prime example of this would be, and I hate to use this one because they fit a lot of other stereotypes and I've brought them up before, is Kurumi Totsuki from Data Live. She is a sort of Yangwa type character who long-term goal is to destroy, and this is going to be spoilers by the way, the original spirit that all the powers of the spirits come from. She ultimately fails in this goal and decides to basically join Shido in his attempts to seal the spirits and to try and make some resolution. Now that series is basically concluded now in the light novel form. Okay, it's not concluded in the anime or the manga. However, looking at it, if you were around for the spoilers of the last couple of books, you see people were kind of disappointed because of the results. Kurumi's results, of course, ending of that thing was basically she lost to Yoshino, and obviously they lost to well, the main girl, of course, Toka. Toka, of course, basically gets split into two individuals, her dark side and her light side, and there's a whole weird plot for the last couple of books that is rather complex and should really get its own video. And well, it's one of those topics that are slightly controversial, so I'll avoid it for now. Going back to the manipulation, or the manipulative type of characters, one has to be made for in Mirai Nikki or Future Diary. She does have a long-term goal. She basically goes from world to world trying to make a happy ending with the main character. This, of course, kind of happens when Yuki basically wins the second world contest, as she kills herself, basically. But there was a lot of holes in Mirai Nikki, so they actually had to do Paradox and then Redial to basically fix the plot holes in them, which sort of, squared the circle, basically. There's a lot of these characters around. A lot of people will introduced Western characters into this type of thing, and sure, they can be brought up, for example, Stewie Griffin in, well, Family Guy or something along those lines. There's also, you know, when it comes to it, you look at a series like Death Note, Light, of course, he has two faces. Misa Amane, she has two faces. And Teru Mikami has two faces. Could also apply to characters in Happy Sugar Life, Satu Mazuka and Teo Mitsubishi. When it comes to this isn't a very talked about character, obviously, because they tend to be antagonistic or character that basically you love to hate. I would add another character to this type of stereotype. Alucard from, obviously, Hellsing. Hellsing is, and major spoilers are coming from the series, it's quite old now, but spoilers anyway. Alucard is a sort of character that has a very specific face with Integra. He has a very specific face because she's his master. Now, I don't know whether this is control or this is some sort of weird affection for her, but when she releases his locks or his seals, he will do what he wants to do, and ultimately when he released the last seal, he can basically do whatever he wants. He is unchained from all fetters, yet when he has the final boss fight with Schrodinger, he does eventually come back to Integra, and he's rather servant-like to her. He basically crawls to her, but it's very strange to see a character have a specific face with one type of person and yet something with everyone else. For example, he's rather gruff with Sarah's Victoria. He's rather gruff with other characters. He was rather pleasant to Ceres in the beginning. He was rather pleasant to Walter as well, because Walter made his weapons. Now, again, major spoilers coming. Walter is far more of a Hangarai type character because of his betrayal, because of his siding with the evil Nazi, with the evil Nazi major. This is rather a big revelation, and it's rather shocking because you don't expect it. You expect Walter to be more of like a Q type character, a weapons master or an artisan of instruments of death, and yet when he turns on them, he puts all these skills, these new powers that he's gained somehow against Alucard, and Alucard is forced to kill his friend, which he does. Going back to the origins, I can't really say where this originated. Now, a lot of people point to various visual novels, for example. They'll point to something like the rogues or the sort of characters in the rather Bushido games, where you will get certain male characters that are very one-faced to, for example, some of the classmates, but very hostile to main character that you're playing, or for example, they'll be very nice to you and then ultimately betray you down the line. It is one of those things that appears again and again, and it's quite unique and quite cool to see them have these rather double-sidedness of them, this hidden boss thing. So, as no one really talked about it, no one brought this to attention. I've seen a few other series talk about Sundaries, I've seen them Yangwas, etc, etc, but no one's really looked at this one. So, that's basically my thoughts of the Hangarai, where they sort of stand in manga and anime and light novels. Oh, I want to add one more. In Assassination Classroom, the guy that takes up the Reaper title first appears as a flower seller. He is another perfect example of this stereotype, when he is revealed to be the original Reaper's protege. And yes, spoilers for a manga that's, what, 12 years old? Older than that, maybe? It's kind of a shock, because you expect him to be this rather pleasant person, but he's not, he's evil. So that's the type of reaction you're looking for in this type of characters. Again, I would go back to Sebastian Michaels, I would Walter or Alucard, or like maybe in Death Note. it's very hard to get right. It's very hard to look at and go, oh, there wasn't telegraphs for that earlier on. For example, Walter in Alucard. If you look at it after you've read it, you might pick up he's obviously too nice to certain people, Integra and Alucard and Ceres. He's trying to ingratiate them himself into their circle, and you see that. You see it. Okay, so that's little Archetypes in Manga for today. Thank you everyone for watching, take care of yourselves, and bye bye.